Hey everybody, Tim Higgins. So we're going to talk about how to upgrade release automation from 6.4 to 6.7. Now, you can't go directly from 6.4 to 6.7 because it's a major jump. Now, you can probably go from let's just assume that you can. Let's do it this way for everything, okay? I was going to say you could go from 6.6, 6.7, but duh, of course you can. So 6.4, we're going to start the install from fresh. Let's pretend like you've never had it installed. So we're going to install it locally. We're going to look at a few things we need to upgrade. And then we'll go back and look at the agents in a completely separate video. Now, during the install, I'm going to stop the video a couple of times just so you don't have to sit here in dead air. So we're going to run. This is just the download I got from Broadcom. I'm going to right-click on this. Very important in a Windows environment, you always want to run this as administrator. So we want to right-click and say run as admin. Give it a few. It's going to start up for us. There we go. Now, if you see a blank screen, it's because it's Windows saying, hey, you sure you want to do this? So give it a second. Now you should be seeing my screen again. And the basic install really is a next scenario almost. I'm going to pick directly defaults. I have Microsoft SQL installed. You could, and you'll see this during the install, you could pick something like if you're in a corporate environment, you'd want to use something like Microsoft SQL or even Oracle. So let's go ahead and say next. I want to make sure I don't have release automation on this machine. So let's go look. So let's go to release. I don't see it here. So let's go look in the folders because I just want to double check because this is my local machine and I install stuff here all the time. Let's go program files, CA. That's dev test, that's fair. And then CA, I have CA technologies, and I have the policy manager, which is layer 7. Okay, so fair enough. I don't have one installed. Let's just double check our My Sql just to make sure we don't have a database there, a database instance, because if you do, that can cause a lot of problems, especially if it's not the right version. So let's go ahead and just click. It should be the only thing in. And this is kind of good because it's kind of a sanity check for you as well. Let's do a refresh. I do not see a database, so we're good. Those are the three that come with My Sql. So let's go ahead and say next. Start a new install on this computer. When we do the upgrade, you'll see this option. That's one we're going to pick. I just wanted to make sure I cleaned everything off my computer. So let's go ahead and hit next. And then here we're going to go through our agreement here. I'm going to say next. I'm going to pick the system local account to run the services because it's Windows. Now here, we're going to go ahead and do this so we can talk through these real quick. If you've never really paid attention to release automation, you have the management server, you have the execution server. This is going to install an agent for us on the local box. Sometimes it's a good idea. I know that's a kind of odd thing to say because is it a good idea or is it not a good idea? It really depends on the scenario. Some people don't want agents running on the execution servers, and some people just don't care. The agent... I do have a video out there that tells you about release automation, so go back and watch it if you're curious. But the agent is what does the work on the servers, okay? And then we could skip the database configuration if we want to, but I don't have a database, so we're going to let the install do it for us. So this is just telling us what it's about to do. I'm okay with the defaults because I'm just installing everything local. You'd want to check and make sure these ports are available when you have them open and all that stuff. This is the name of my PC. It shows up as the execution server name. It could show up as the agent's name. It just shows up in different places, right? It's just a reference of what the name of the server is. In this case, it's my local PC. Again, as I said before, you can choose your databases. I would pick My Sql. I would pick something different if you were in a production environment or a corporate environment. Doesn't have to be production. Just in a good environment. In this case, I'm going to go with My Sql just because that's what I have. Now, My Sql has this thing where you have to do the connector. It's not too hard to find. The only gotcha is it doesn't have to be the same version. It just has to be that version or greater. Okay. Notice it says 5121. I'm using 5148. So let's go ahead and next. This just wants to know how to connect to My Sql. So we'll give it the top secret password there. Am I doing a remote? Nope, I'm good. And we're good. So now it's just going to run. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the video so you all don't have dead air. And then we'll come back when it's done. Hey everybody, so we're going to look real quick at our release automation. We can see that we have it installed. So if I launch it, this may take just a few seconds to launch. Actually came up pretty quick. The first time you install it, it may take a little bit longer to launch just because it has to start the services, connect to the database and all that. The only thing we want to look at here is if we go to help, about, we can see that we have 6.4 installed. Now, that's super cool. There's a lot of things that we need to look at as well as we do the upgrade. The other thing we want to look at is to make sure that our actions are staying up to date. Now, we're not going to do anything yet. This is kind of iffy because you want to make sure that the action that you update doesn't break its functionality, which it shouldn't. So you kind of want to test those as you go. The other thing you want to make sure is when you do your agents. So let's go ahead and go over here. We're not going to talk about the agents in fully yet. Just mainly because I'll probably do another video section for that. But, sorry, I'm trying to get back to the landing page, the physical landing page. We can download the agents here and do those manually. But the other way to do it is you can click Get Your Studio. So we have the rock in the studio. Again, if I'm saying terms you don't know, go back and watch the video that I did on Introduction to Release Automation. This is really just how to do the upgrade. So when this starts up, it's going to take a few seconds. This is going to take Java to start it up for us. And then let's go ahead and just say, yeah, that's fine. And then yes, that's fine. You may not have to do this if you have the Java in your paths. So give it a few seconds. It's going to start up. I'm going to log in. And then let's go ahead. Oops. So the default password is super user. And then suser is the password. Sorry, the default user is super user. The default password is suser. Just in case if you need that. Let's give it a few more seconds to start up. Okay, again, some dead air there. Apologize about that, but now it's starting up. Now, if I go over here, and if I look at my agents from here, so we go to agent management, and then I can see, but I only have the one agent here. If I right click, I could do an upgrade from here. Now, this is the best practice way to do it. I could say, yes, there's nothing to upgrade to because I have the latest for 6.4. So what it's going to do is look at the execution server and give you the agent that matches that. Anyway, so I hope this helps. And just real quick, since I said that, if you look, and if I go ahead and refresh, and we'll go down here and look, I can still see that my agent is still 6.4. All right, so our next step is we're going to step into upgrading to 6.5. Okay, everybody, so now that we have our install here, we looked and we noticed we have the about, which is here. We talked about possibly upgrading the agents at some other time. A few things you want to look at too is you probably want to look at your actions, right? And you got to be careful with your actions because I want to make sure the functionality that you upgrade to doesn't break the existing app, right? So for an example, if they change this Nolio development action, which odds are they're not because they want to keep them somewhat backwards compatible. But if I upgrade this and this no longer takes a REST call, no longer takes a SOAP call, and now takes a REST call, well, that may break my application, right? It may break my flows. But with saying that, we're going to hop over here. We're going to look at our process flow here. We have just a demo process flow, okay? Nothing too fancy. And now what we're going to do is we're going to now jump over here to my desktop. We're done with My Sql, so we'll close that. We'll go to my upgrade folder, and guess what? We're now going to upgrade to 6.5. Is this the Windows? Yep, that's the Windows. Remember, we're going to right-click. We're going to say Run as Administrator. Now, common sense, when you do your projects, while that's starting up, let's go back over here, and if I'm in my projects, I want to go to application model. I want to back all this up, right? Just in case. But in theory, you should be fine to back up. The easiest way to do it is go import export and then select the one that you want and then just export it. Okay, so let's go back over here. You should have a black screen now, but now you should see the installer start. And same as before, just be patient. Once it gets going, I'll stop it so you're not listening to dead time, just watching a pretty green grass grow here as the little green bar goes across. That is a techie question. Why is that green? Anyway, so yes, I want to do the yes, I want to update the existing install. So if you remember before, I had, do you want to do an install here? And then the second option was an update. In this case, the first option is an update. So we're going to say yes, stick with the default. And just for kicks and giggles, I want to make sure I don't have it up and running. I mean, I do here, but let's go ahead and close it. Let's make sure I didn't have the studio up and running. And then we're going to say, yeah, we're good. Next. And keep in mind, we're going from 6.4 to 6.5. And now we're just going to let it run. Now, the upgrade doesn't take as long as the physical install because it doesn't have to do the database and things like that. Now, of course, it does have to make changes if it needs to. But with saying that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video just so we're not wasting time, and I'll come back when it's done. I went ahead and pulled up Release Automation once the upgrade got finished. We're going to go over here and see where we're at. And remember, we upgraded to a 6.5. The other thing we want to make sure is that we want to go in here and make sure our processes are okay. We also want to go over here and make sure our action management seem to be okay. Our actions, right? So now I still only have 2D upgrade. That's cool because that's what I had before. The other thing is I want to make sure my agents are good. Now to do that, I clicked on it a few minutes ago, but it didn't start. So let's go ahead and go back to our studio. And we just want to try to start this up with our Java. All right, and you may not have to go through these steps again if you have this in your path, but I don't have my Java in my path, so I have to go through here and accept. But give it a few seconds to start up. All right, this is going to kick the Java off. So patience. As you know, it's a Java application. The Visual Studio is. I mean, not Visual Studio, the Release Automation Studio. Okay, so I just have to say yes, I accept. I know this is not a security breach. I know this is Broadcom. And again, also, while this is working, this is where we would get our agents. We have to do them manually. But what I'm showing you is hopefully a better way. So remember, suser is the default username, password. And I'm telling you that because hopefully you don't leave it at that. Your password shouldn't change as before. But if you're trying this at home or if you're trying it on a dev box or something different, there's so many different passwords that I have to keep in my head there's tools out there. Like there's a tool, Being Logged In, you can try that keeps your passwords. But there's so many different passwords out there to know. And when I'm doing tests, I'm like, oh, which product is this? Which password is this? Because there's so many default passwords. But what I want to do is come over here. I want to click on I was going to say you look at actions here as well. The main thing I want to look at is my agents over here. And I can see I only have the one agent. Now, when I right click and say upgrade agent, it says you want to upgrade to say yes. Now, the one thing I found out is when it upgrades, I'm not 100% sure it works because when I hit refresh, it doesn't show that it's upgraded because I would assume it would be 6.5. Notice it's 6.4 right here. So let's go ahead and close. I'm going to refresh. I'm sorry, not pencil. Refresh. And I'm going to refresh here. See, it still says 6.4. So I wonder if I close this. Yes, I'm sure. And if I try to launch it again, if it says the same. Now, we could go to the agent and see. And it also may be because this doesn't make sense to me, but it may be also because the agent is built into the installation here. What I mean by that is not a separate install. It was actually part of the install for the whole server here. I keep wanting to say execution server, but it was the whole thing. So let's go ahead and log back in. And just be patient. Again, I probably need like some kind of Jeopardy theme or something to play in the back end, right? But then I'll probably get sued for that. So let's pull this up. And we'll go back to our agent. Click on the agent. Oh, you know what? So it did say 6.5. That is great. The other day when I did it, I didn't close and reopen it. I was like, oh, man, it's not working. But this actually works. So cool. So that's a fast way for you to do your agent. For some reason, I guess the refresh button doesn't work. Okay, so but we're good. It does say 6.5. So it's saying that I'm going to close the studio because it's a thick client. We're going to close that. I'm going to minimize my recording tool here. We're going to minimize that. That's just where I'm creating the videos in the background. And what we're going to do is we're going to ignore that I just got an email. We're going to go over here, and that was 6.5. So now we're going to go to 6.6. Okay, 6.6. That's Linux, so we don't want that one. We want this one. The one thing too is it makes all these little virtual drives on my disk. So you can just right-click and eject those. And we're using the last one, so it's good. We're going to keep it. But now, if you remember, what are we going to do? We're going to right-click, run as administrator. Okay. And then we're going to be patient while it kicks off. Again, pretend like Jeopardy's playing in your head. You know, if you've never seen Jeopardy, it's the really cool, fun show where you have to answer questions and why the contestants are thinking they play this theme song. Unfortunately, we're not thinking. We're kind of waiting. Now, hopefully on your server, this will be a lot faster. Again, you're going to probably see a dead spot there in the video. I like having the video up on the other screen so I can see what's going on. Now, once this gets going, I'm going to go through the first couple initial steps, and then what we're going to do is, again, stop the video, and I'll open it up when the install is done. I'll get the video started back up again. So, patience, patience, patience. And again, now that I'm watching this, I wonder why that color's green. Is it because you're watching the grass grow? Here we have an option to update again, or we can install to a different directory. Again, if you remember the very first one, these two are almost kind of flipped, right? It wasn't installed in a different directory. Maybe it was, I don't know. But anyway, so let's go ahead and just say next. We'll do the update. Stick on my defaults, and we're going good and clean. So it's just going to say make sure you're positive. Are you 100% positive? Do you really want to do this? Yes, I do. Okay, so now this is going. I'm going to stop the video, and then we'll come back when it's done. And remember, we started with 6.4. We just looked at 6.5. We're now installing 6.6. Okay. Okay, so you guessed it. Our install has finished. We're going to go ahead and kick off the studio because it takes a few seconds to get going. And we're going to go ahead and launch here. Click this and say Java. And here we're going to have our super user. So super user, and remember my password, which is suser. We're going to log in. And this is the studio, so we're going to kick off the studio. All right, we're going to go up here. We're going to go to help. And you guessed it, we are now at 6.6. Go ahead and log in here. And we're going to go here. We're going to look at our processes. Our processes are still good. Well, at least I hope they are. There we go. They're still good. So I haven't imported or exported any processes. I haven't backed up in the database or anything. Best practices, you'd want to back up your database, but you shouldn't have to upload your projects again. Now, if I go over here and look at my, go over here and look at my actions. Got my mouse stuck on the tokens. I didn't want to look at tokens. Everything still looks good. I still say I only need 2 updated. Notice these other ones don't say they'll need updated. That's good. We're going to start in our studio. And if you remember in our studio, we're going to go to our agent. We're going to click on our agent here. Oh, I'm sorry. Not our action, our agent. There we go. We're going to click it. It says 6.5. So we're going to upgrade it. Right click, upgrade. We're going to upgrade this. Give it a few seconds. Notice how fast this is. I don't have to download it. Don't have to install it or any of that cool jazz. I just have to wait, and this is going to kick off. And when this gets done, then my agent's upgraded. Remember, you noticed in the last video. So in the past, I did this, and I didn't double check myself, which was kind of silly. This is taking a little bit longer than usual. Normally, it just flies right through there. But I didn't check myself, and it actually said that it didn't upgrade. So then when I went and looked, it didn't have the right version, but I didn't close the studio and reopen it. That's something I probably should have done. So let's go ahead and do that. So we still say 6.5. So let's go ahead and close this. Yes, close. Let's get back to our landing page. From here, we'll click on our studio again. Keep, next, Java, open. And then just be patient. And I'm stopping and starting this whole process from 6.4 to 6.7. And I've only got the one agent. What I've realized in the past is that it usually takes about 2 hours to do the 4 total installs. But keep in mind, that also includes me not having it installed at the beginning. So it probably takes maybe an hour and a half to go from beginning to end, minus the agents. The agents could depend, but you saw how fast the agent ran. It was a lot faster than having to download, uninstall, and reinstall and all that stuff. So let's go to agent management. Okay, it's not reachable. It told me before that if it's not reachable, just wait and it should be able to get reachable. So we will pause. And it did kind of worry me that it took a little bit longer to do that initial install. So we'll give it a few minutes and see what happens. Now, if you looked, I gave it a few minutes. It now says we're connected. It just took a few minutes to, I think what behind the scenes is physically doing the install. And I'm doing this so fast, I just closed and reopened it. I didn't really give enough time to reconnect and all that. But if you look here, we're now at 6.6. And that's great. Stop. Upgrade. Now you've guessed it. We're going to 6.7. I'm going to close the studio just because it's a thick client. I can go ahead and close the browser and all that stuff too. We'll go ahead and open this one up. And this one isn't an ISO, which is kind of cool. So I can right click and I'm going to say run as administrator. And again, patience, as it takes a few minutes to kick off. Again, dead air. Apologize about that. I think I have a meeting coming up here shortly. Let's go ahead and just close my email. There we go. This is what I was looking for. You probably have a black space in the video. So we're going to this little green grass grow scenario. We're going to hit next. Yes, I want to update. Default again. And then here we're going to say next, next, and then next. And now we're going to let it do its thing. Now remember, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, and now we're doing 6.7, which is where we want to be because that's the latest. Again, I'm going to stop the video and we'll come back to it once this is complete and just investigate what we've done. So now you've guessed it. We got a release automation installed. We're going to launch our studio real quick. We're going to keep this. We're going to view it with our Java. We're going to open up release automation. Log into the rock. This icon's not really clean there, but that's okay. It's probably just a browser thing. Let's look, see, oh, here comes the studio. It's what we need. Okay, studio should be starting up. We're going to go to our help. We're going to go to our about. We are now at 6.7, which is awesome. We're going to log in with our super user. We're going to close that. Go to designer. Let's go back to our process. Process seems to be loading just fine. I didn't have to reload any processes. Everything seemed to work good here. If I go look at my actions still look good. It shows me only the two here that needed upgrade. That was the two from beginning. We're going to go into into our studio. I'm going to click here, agents. We're going to look at our agents. My agent is what I expected. It still says 6.6, so we can do the magic of updating the agent. And if you remember last time, it took a little bit to actually reconnect. So let's go ahead and just let this run. Now, while that is running, if you keep in mind, what we did was we started with a 6.4, went to a 6.5, 6.6, and a 6.7. We kind of did just a quick test between all of them. Everything seemed to work fine. There wasn't really any major errors. And we also updated the agent on every single one of them through the automation piece of using the studio here. Now, again, if I hit refresh, sadly, it doesn't show that. Oh, it did that time when I refreshed. So maybe we just need to refresh up here. So it shows that it's trying to reconnect. This could take a possibly 5 or 10 minute job here, just depending. My average is somewhere in between 1 to about 3 minutes. So we'll give it just a few and see if it connects. And if it doesn't, then, it will. But at worst case, I'll stop the video and come back when it's finished. If you notice here on my execution server, it does say 6.7. The agent itself still says 6.6 because it's trying to reestablish that connection. I said it on one of the other videos. If I had to guess, even though the UI is fast, the back end is probably really still doing the whole install and all that good stuff. So we'll give it a few, see if it reconnects. Again, the refresh here is not the best, so just kind of refresh, or go get a cup of coffee and then come back. So I'm going to stop the video for now, and we will come back to this once it's connected. Now that we're back, like I said, it took a little bit just to refresh. Truth is, I don't know if you're paying attention to time, but it took about 2 minutes. I hit refreshed, and now my agent actually says a 6.7. So to cap this up, what we did, again, I'll say it again, is we started from a very old version of 6.4. Release automation does not give you an easy way to install all of that to go from 6.4 to 6.7. You really have to go in steps. So we went from 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 6.7. We verified that our action packs seemed to be okay. We verified that our project seemed to be okay. We didn't have to reinstall anything on the projects. We also were able to update, and this is a big one because most people have a lot of agents. We were also able to update our agent just by using the studio and not having to go to each physical server, uninstall and reinstall. So I hope this was helpful. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, and good luck.